driving business.
As you're heading into the weekend, I would just like to remind you that the markets of Zabu are open today. Well, investing has been made easier and possible with Zabu. With a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings and with just a registration of your NIN for an account with Zabu, you are definitely good to go with investing. Well, Zabu is powered by Altex East Africa, which says do something new. And by dialing *292# for the MTN subscribers, you will follow the prompt and select a bond and other products that are available for you to invest in. Don't just save your money for investment. Invest it into something viable, something that will grow within months, and definitely you are good to go, and you'll be good to spend your good money as time passes by. Well, markets open at 8:15 a.m. and just around the corner here, just 40 minutes to go, and these markets will be open. Then they will be closed at 3:15 p.m. Why I'm reminding you to invest today is because Saturdays and Sundays, these particular markets are closed, and they are also closed during public holidays. Well, if you're to look at the public holidays that we do have in a year, in this particular month, we do have Christmas Day, and of course, we also have a day on, we have Christmas Day, basically, on 25th, Boxing Day 26th, and 31st of, but most of the areas, most of the job market is open. But also for the people in Kenya, meanwhile, you will have to realize that 12th December, then those in Tanzania 9th December. So Independence Day for those countries respectively. And so Zabu says, my money, my future, do something new, courtesy of Altex East Africa. Now into Karibu East Africa, let's look at some of the headlines making rounds from the world of business, and we start off from Tanzania, as Air Tanzania's plane seized in the Netherlands. The reason behind this particular one is after a Swedish firm won a $165 million award against Tanzania due to their revoked land title in the Bagamoyo sugar project. Well, it is still not clear exactly which aircraft on ATCL's fleet or Air Tanzania's fleet has been seized and under what circumstances. However, on Wednesday, the government dispelled fears of the possible attachment of an Air Tanzania plane by a Dutch court, with the Attorney General saying everything was under control for the time being. Dr. Eliza Feleshi did confirm that the Swedish firm that won a $165 million award against Tanzania had persuaded the court to uphold the attachment of the aircraft despite the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes having issued a state of execution pending annulment proceedings. Well, it's true that they went to court in the Netherlands after they had successfully appealed to the ICSID for a state of execution. Well, everything is under control according to Dr. Eliezer Feleshi. And Dr. Feleshi added that the government had already appealed against the Dutch court decision but declined to offer further details. Now, Tanzania has argued that the attachment is unlawful because it has obtained a day after the state had petitioned the ICSID to annul Eco Development's awards. Well, that is an aviation report coming in from the Tanzanian people. And crossing over now to the north of Tanzania, we head to Kenya, which is east of Uganda. Pretty much looking at the Kenya anti-tobacco crusaders who have faulted President Ruto's South Korea deal. Now, a group of advocates of tobacco use control have denounced the deal of Kenya President William Ruto that he apparently met with South Korea to enhance tobacco trade, saying it will put more Kenyans at risk of diseases linked to the farming and the use of this particular product. The Kenyan Tobacco Control Alliance, KETAC, an umbrella body of civil society organizations fighting tobacco use in Kenya, said the trade deal threatens to undo the progress made in reducing tobacco farming in the country. Karibu said that the agreement between Nairobi and Seoul is not only detrimental to the health of Kenyans, but also violates the Tobacco Control Act of 2007, which commits the government to continually phase out tobacco farming in Kenya. President Ruto, after his first official visit to Seoul last week, announced that Kenya commits to work together with South Korea in deepening and strengthening bilateral trade, especially in tea, coffee, and tobacco, a move contradicting the very government's efforts to phase out tobacco farming in the country. In March 2022, the Ministry of Agriculture partnered with United Nations agencies, World Health Organizations, the World Food Programme, and the Agriculture and Food Organizations to initiate the Tobacco-Free Farms project to help farmers shift from tobacco farming into other sectors in agriculture. Now, the program here, piloted in Migori County, Western Kenya, sought to provide farmers dependent on tobacco farming with seeds, fertilizers, as well as ready markets to help them shift to more sustainable crops such as maize and beans. His agricultural counterpart at the time, Peter Munya, said the project would go a long way in boosting the nation's food security in addition to keeping farmers healthy. Ketka praised the move and encouraged a speedy expansion to other tobacco growing regions, saying the government was finally honoring the requirements of the Tobacco Control Act, which is noting that the project has been very successful in Migori. And Mr. Gitari says that the arrangement with Seoul would avert the gains made even if in Migori and prevent the extension of the project to other tobacco growing regions within Kenya. A recent study by the University of Nairobi and the American Cancer Center found that the farmers in Migori, Busia and Meru counties could earn an average of 80,000 Kenyan shillings. That is approximately $697.47 more per acre from alternative crops like vegetables, grains, cereals, backing this claim that they can shift from tobacco growing and look into vegetable growing, grain and cereal growing. So according to the study, farmers in the tobacco growing regions stuck to the crop because of the structured supply chain of tobacco incentives production and due to lack of a ready market for the other crops, yet tobacco has got ready market. All right, that's some criticism from President Ruto. Lastly, from our Karibu East Africa report, Congo has published oil blocks agreement with billionaire Gatla. Sanctioned Gatla is apparently set to get over $250 million to return assets. So the DRC, the new entrant to the East African Community bloc, will pay Israel billionaire Dan Gatla more than $250 million to resolve a dispute over 2 oil blocks in the country, according to a settlement agreement that is set to be signed. Now, under the terms of the agreement released by the government yesterday, Gatla will return mining and all assets potentially worth billions of dollars to the state in exchange for the reimbursement of expenses and Congo's assistance in his attempt to end US sanctions against him. So that you clearly see that the DRC government is set to input over $250 million. That is it for the Karibu East Africa. Habari ya leo East Africa. Hope you are doing well. It is Friday. Yes, it is. It is the 2nd of December as we are moving swiftly a few days to the end of the year. Now let's check it out. What is making headlines from the world of the international news this Friday morning. All right, now during the African Union Summit, African leaders have called for faster industrialization as they believe this is going to be a channel to create employment opportunities and also look at tapping into the various innovations in Africa. The African leaders reviewed the continent's progress in industrialization, economic diversification, and the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area in the context of global shocks. Look at the debt vulnerabilities, climate change, and security concerns amongst the member states of the AU. Now, 20 heads of state and government, as well as their representatives, attended the African Union Extraordinary Summit on Industrialization, Economic Diversification, and the African Continental Free Trade Area in Niamey. In a speech read on his behalf, African Development Bank President Akinwumi Adesina did note that the free trade areas had brought prosperity worldwide, not by trading low-value products, but by industrial production. So he therefore said that it's clear that Africa's prosperity must no longer depend on exports of raw materials, but also on value-added finished products. Mary Laura Akin Ologbade, who is the African Development Bank Acting Vice President for the Regional Development Integration and Service Delivery, represented Dr. Adesina and delivered the speech on his behalf. Now, the bank chief also detailed efforts to develop spheres that will boost Africa's industrialization and also Africa's economic diversification, including energy, health, natural resources, and pharmaceutical sectors. During the summit, the African Development Bank, the African Union, and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization launched the inaugural Africa Industrial Index. Now, the joint report showed that 37 out of 52 African countries have industrialized over the past 11 years. The study provides a country-level assessment of the progress which is made by the 52 African countries based on 19 key indicators. With 19 key indicators, of course, the 19 key indicators in the index cover manufacturing performance, capital, labor, business environment, there is infrastructure into it, macroeconomic stability. The index is also ranking the level of industrialization of African countries along various dimensions such as capital, labor endowments, institutions, infrastructure, and macroeconomic stability, among others. South Africa has maintained a very high ranking throughout the 2020 to 2021 period, followed closely by Morocco, which is in second place in 2022. Then Egypt, Tunisia, Mauritius, and Eswatini complete the top 6 over the period. The report will help African governments to identify benchmark countries to better assess their own industrial performance and adopt best practices more effectively. During the summit, heads of state also reviewed the pace of operationalization of the African Continent Free Trade Area, which came into force in January 2021, as well as its linkages to industrialization. Now, away from that particular summit, we head to the United States. Now, to the United States, Tesla has recalled 435,000 cars in China over marker light issue. So the electric car maker Tesla will recall more than 435,000 vehicles in China to fix an issue with side marker lights. That is according to China's market watchdog report. Now, the company will issue an over-the-air software update to fix the problem, which could result in extreme circumstances leading to a collision. It covers 142,277 Model 3 cars and 292,855 Model Ys, according to a statement by the State Administration for Market Regulation. This is the 6th recall made by the company in China in 2022, following the latest one covering more than 80,000 cars last week. Tesla's retail sales in China nearly doubled in between November 1st to November 27th. That is a period from a year earlier, and a slight change. Brokerage data showed that after the company cut prices for Model 3 and Model Y while offering incentives, then its Shanghai plant delivered 554,778 vehicles in the first 10 months of 2022, far exceeding the number delivered during the whole of 2021. Then lastly, from the international news, Asia's factory activity has shrunk as China lockdowns weigh on firms. Factory output slumped widely across Asia in November, as slowing global demand and uncertainty over the fallout from China's strict COVID-19 lockdowns did weigh on business sentiment. The results highlighted Asia's darkening economic outlook for 2023 as the lockdowns disrupt international supply and heighten fears of a further slump in its economy, which is the world's second largest. Amid the pandemic cuts, China's factory activity shrunk in November, a private survey showed on Thursday. Now, the result implied weaker employment and economic growth in the fourth quarter. Then manufacturing activity also contracted, and export-reliant economies including Japan and South Korea and in emerging nations such as Vietnam, underscoring widening damage from weak global demand and stubbornly high input costs, according to what the survey showed. Cooling market conditions, sustained cost pressures, and weak underlying demand, both domestically and internationally, were reportedly pivotal factors contributing to the decline, according to economist Laura Denman and S&P Global Market Intelligence, which compiles the survey on Japan. Well, China's Caixin say S&P Global Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index stood at 49.4 in November, up from 49.2 in the previous month, but still below the 50 mark, which separates growth from contraction. Now it has now been below 50 for over 4 consecutive months. Now, if you're to follow up, the figure followed downbeat data in an official survey on Wednesday that showed manufacturing activity had hit a 7-month low in November. Well, Japanese Aojibun Bank PMI also fell to 49% in November from October's 50.7. That was the first contraction since November 2020. If you're to briefly look through it, South Korea's factory activity shrunk for a 5th straight month in November, but the downturn moderated slightly, now possibly suggesting the worst was over for businesses. Now still, also, South Korea's exports in November suffered their steepest annual drop in 2.5 years. Separate data showed on Thursday, hit by cooling global demand in major markets, led by China, and the downturn in semiconductor industries. Lockdowns in China feed production of productions from various factories, and there's the biggest producer of Apple also being affected. They've also stopped restrict protests across many cities. Now, the effect of China's wars was felt widely across Asia, as Taiwanese PMI stood at 41.6% in the month of November, up slightly from 41.5% in October, but remaining far below the 50 mark. Vietnam's PMI fell to 47.4 in November from 50.6 in October, while that for Indonesia slid a bit to 50.3 from 51.8, the private surveys showed. And that's it for the international updates this morning. On our website www.smart24.tv, and slightly follow us on our social media platforms. Twitter is Smart24 TV, Facebook Smart24 TV official, and Instagram is Smart24_TV, where we discuss business matters, nothing more, nothing less. And of course, you can still follow us and link with us on LinkedIn, Smart24 TV, and we are expanding more and beyond. We are available across the East African community regions, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, and Rwanda. Wherever you are, you can definitely be getting us, and giving all that matters to business is what we are entailed to do. This is your daily Kickstarter, Smart Means Business, and I'm Joram Paul Sonko to drive you through till the hour of 10 a.m. Stick around, because as I go into a break, when I do return, still to come quite many of the details. We have business tips, quotes, social media trends, what was happening on the timeline yesterday, and also looking at more of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics report in regards to Uganda's inflation. Good morning.